Sheesh, I actually had to park on a street around the corner to get to this sale. So you can see here, it's wrapping all the way around. And this is about 20 minutes before the sale. So it looks like there's a house right over there. Here we go. Just about ready to go in, probably like 15 minutes or so.
Call the number?
They'll, it depends. I mean, sometimes they'll just call the numbers, they'll call the names.
Okay.
Some of them won't hand out like a number. They have to hand that.
Okay.
Ben, you here?
Okay. Team dominant.
How much were they though? Oh yeah, they're in pretty good shape for that price. Yes, we're trying to.
I'm looking forward to it.
Well, yeah, there's...
All right, so I got everything that you saw there for 20 bucks. Not bad, you know, it's your typical doctor and lawyer's estate sale in that particular city that I was in. So, you know, you don't expect to find a lot of vintage stuff there. It's usually a lot of modern things because the people in those professions tend to, I mean, not always, there's exceptions, but they usually are spending so much money on the home and on the car and other things that they don't tend to acquire a lot of vintage. They usually just get a bunch of modern types of things. So that's okay. I got good stuff, but I am way more excited about what I planned as a meetup after that estate sale. That's why I'm sitting in this parking lot outside of a Five Guys restaurant right now, because an hour afterwards, I have been working for months to seal the deal on a comic collection. Now, I haven't gone through the whole collection yet, but there's one thing inside you have got to see. All right, so everything that you see here, I paid $250 for. So we have 3 long boxes and 1 giant filled tote and this bag right here. Now, what I have laying on top of this bag that I picked out is none other than Avengers number 57. This is the first appearance of Vision. This is not the facsimile copy. This is the original right there. Now, it has some condition flaws to it, but that's okay. I mean, at minimum, this is going to sell for several $100s. Now, if it was in much better condition and I had it graded, it could sell for over $2,000, but this is a definite key issue book that is something every collector would want to have, and people will buy it in almost any condition. Mrs. Primetime and I are still going through this collection. There's just so much stuff to still go through. She pulled this out, and this is awesome. First cable. And then I started looking through the same box and pulled out Marvel Superhero Secret War number 8. This is such an incredible book. So super pumped. That is in really nice condition too. All right, sorry about that little sideways tilt there for those last couple of video clips, but when I originally filmed that, I filmed it vertically to go onto Instagram and didn't think to reshoot it for YouTube one day. But anyway, so we're gonna get into the comps of the estate sale items in just a moment, but just to recap a couple things about those comic books. The Avengers 57, that was the main highlight of the purchase. That one is the first appearance of the Silver Age Vision, and that one sold to Mr. Buys-A-Lot for $375. The New Mutants 87, which is the first appearance of Cable, that one sold for $125. Then later on, I found the New Mutants 98 once I got back to Primetime Treasure headquarters, and that sold for $175. That's the first appearance of Deadpool. And then the Marvel Superheroes Secret Wars number 8. That's the best one with Spider-Man in the alien costume. That one I used to complete a full Secret Wars set, the original set 1 through 12, and that one sold for $300. So overall, I'm very happy with that. But before we get to the estate sale items, I have to tell you about my biggest eBay sale of all time in terms of final sale amount, and that would be this issue right here, Marvel Superheroes number 21 from 1969. I just sold this on eBay for $2,500. Now, there's several reasons why this one sold for this much money. Number one is that it's the single highest graded. You can see here it has a grade of 9.8 out of 10 by CGC, and there is no issue of this that's ever been graded higher than that or at that particular grade. So everything else is below it, and you could check that out on the census for any comic book that's out there. Now, another factor is that it's vintage. 1969, people love vintage comic books. The other factor is all the different iconic comic characters that are on the cover, many Avengers, X-Men as well. And then you have some right in the price box also. And then you have a lot of names in different colors. So multi-colors, awesome characters. It says Marvel superheroes on it. It's bold. It comes at you. Remember, one of the main reasons that people like to invest in this type of stuff is to display it as a trophy. They're not going to open up and read it, and the more kind of action and characters and colors and all that type of stuff that you could have on that cover, that's really going to help jump the price up for it. So all those things are important. And in addition to that, the artists that are involved in the cover are also famous. John Romita Sr. did this along with Marie Severin, but always look for that name, John Romita, and his son, John Romita Jr. In terms of comic art. Very desirable. Now, I invested $1,300 into this comic book at an online auction. It already came graded when I bought it, so that was all accounted for, and that's the total cost with the shipping, with the auction fees and everything, $1,300. And that's going to seem like a crazy price to a lot of people, but it's not something I would suggest someone starting off doing if you're just getting into comics or any area, is investing that much money into something to start. This is something that I graduated up to over time. I started investing into comic books like this, graded comic books for 50 bucks or less, and then flipping them. And then, once I got confident with that, I moved up to $100 books and then $200 books. And then I would take more and more chances, but based on knowledge. And so all those factors I mentioned to you are things to take into consideration when investing. So overall, my profit on this, after all the eBay fees are taken out and the shipping and stuff like that, is going to be about $900, which isn't bad to take that home. Normally I like to double my money or triple my money, but that does get harder to do when you make higher investments. So yeah, it's great when you could spend $5 on something and then turn it into 50 bucks and you 10 times your money. But that's harder to do when you buy something for $1,000 or so, and then to try to sell it for $10,000. For something like this, that's not really possible, at least for this particular issue. So I'm very happy with the profit, and I wanted to share it with you since it was my highest numerical sale ever on eBay. But now we're going to get into those estate sale items. All right, well, let's start with these pillows. We have two of them with a similar print on each one. It's made of a man-made silky material. I love the color, like an emerald color, jade color. It goes really good with, this Asian theme, this courtyard theme that you see here. And it's double-sided, which is really cool. There's red ones that were available on the England version of Amazon UK, but they're not available there anymore. The pillowcases alone, those are available on Etsy for $23. That's just for the cases. In terms of eBay, these are not on eBay right now. The closest thing I could find, but it's not the same type of design, would be a sold of about $20, and that includes the shipping. So what I'm thinking of is asking $49.99 for the pair of 50 bucks, and I think I could get that, so we're close to it. But let me know what you think. What would you ask for those two pillows? All right, stop with this sad face. He's been doing this to me all day because he feels sad that I took him out of that closet, and he misses his home of 50 years, he keeps telling me. So I'm gonna get you into a good place. Don't worry about it. No, I can't guarantee I'm gonna get you into a circus, but don't worry, it'll be a good place. Listen, we gotta cheer this guy up somehow. Look, listen, I've got mermaids here. I got plenty of mermaids. Up, up, up. Oh, look at that. Oh, he's cheering up now. He's excited. All right. That's why we call him a two-faced clown. This type of clown, they made this type of mold around the 1970s. Now, I just know that just from experience and seeing these types of molds, both clown-related and non-clown-related, around when looking for treasures. But one thing I want to point out is that if you want to try to get a more pinpointed year in terms of when it was created, sometimes even an exact date, what you have to do is look on the bottom. And sometimes you're going to see that someone put like a little felt over it. But all you got to do is take the felt off and you will see that it will reveal some information. So right here, just pulling this felt up a little bit, you could see here, it tells us the year is 1973. That's when it was made. Now I'm going to peel this off some more, and don't worry about that because, you know, if somebody wants to put the felt back on, you know, they could do it. You could put it back on if you want to. You know, it's not hard to do, but sometimes you'll see a name on the bottom of the person who made it. And look here, Dan D. Dan D. So I'll just use this now as part of the listing so I can at least show the date that this was made. In terms of comps for it, there's actually one that's the same type of design. It's painted a little bit differently that someone has on Etsy for $200. Now, that's probably too high for something like this. On eBay, there's ones that sell between $20 and $30, but they're not exactly the same design as this. So I'm gonna do a little bit more research on it and try to, you know, narrow down a better price range for it. But be on the lookout for these things and make sure you always check out the bottoms because, you know, they could have some decent value to them. All right, now, do you remember that frog that was sitting there next to the clown in the closet? Well, I put that in my Whatnot plush auction and it sold for $7 to Cindy. So thank you, Cindy. And now you know where that frog came from. All right, let's take a look at these books real quick. This textbook of pathology, I was pointing to that word earlier. Definitely look for that when you are looking at old textbooks. Refers to the study of diseases. And even though a lot of the images are unpleasant for the average person to look at, that's actually what makes these old texts appealing to people who are doing research or just want to see how some of these diseases were depicted back then because they don't depict them in the same way in modern medical text. So I sold something similar to this a while back for $30. You could sell them for higher than that. I might price this one about $50 and then just see where we go from there. All right, now in terms of the cookbooks, this Mexican cookbook has sold for as high as $17 recently. And this Greek cookbook I listed today for $11. Now, these next two books are a little more interesting. This is an old telephone directory from Stuyvesant, New York. Comes from 1967. Now, telephone directories from this era, the price really varies significantly. It really depends on the city and who may be doing historical research on it at that time and really need it. So they range from as high as $100 to as low as about $20. People like them because they could find all sorts of different names in here to research the people. It's all alphabetized, of course. And then also, people really love them to look for the old advertisements of the businesses in the areas at the time. And sometimes they even have photographs in there as well, like you could see here. So people love the history of that. Now, this Notre Dame de Paris book is pretty cool. It's a volume 2 and it dates back to 1888. Besides the age, another selling point of it is that it is illustrated and it is filled with illustrations throughout the book. So that's cool. You want to make sure you highlight that in the listings. Now, the downside is that it's a volume 2 and I don't have volume 1. So the buyer is going to likely be somebody who has volume 1 but needs volume 2. So it's really going to depend on how desperate that person is to get a volume 2 and how many of them there are on the market at the time. That's going to affect the price. I would say anywhere from $30 to $50. So I'll start it, you know, on the higher end and then I'll just play around with the price as needed. All right, now while I always do say to look for slipcover books, and there's a lot of them out there that really could be worth a lot of money, keep in mind that there are also many of them out there that will bring you back average returns. So ones where you're not going to make a fortune on, but you know, you'll still make a little bit of money on them. These two right here that I showed you earlier, these two, the maximum you're going to get out of these would be about $15, and that's with the slipcase. Some people try to sell them without the slipcase. And this one here, this one would sell for a maximum of about $20 with the slipcase. So, you know, not horrible once you add it all up, but again, not a fortune. All right, so there were various figures and figurines I picked up while I was there. Let's start with this one. It's the most appropriate since I was at a doctor's house. You could see here, this is this hand-painted rock or stone figure. You could see it's glued together in the back, and it just screams 1970s. Just the eyes and the haircut and the facial expression and just the general look and feel of it. They made many of these types of rock figures that represented different professions and roles in society. People generally ask around 15 to 20 bucks for them. I'll probably ask 25 to start, since it is a doctor, and maybe someone will pay up to get it to one of those higher paying professions out there. This one is a monk, and you could see he is studiously reading his religious book there. And you could see on the bottom, always check the bottoms, because you could see there that this came from Mexico. So one of these has recently sold for right around $25. Now, it might not always be exact, because sometimes the monk is depicted as kneeling, but in general, you could expect to get around 25 bucks out of it. It's wood and carved, and it's fairly light, especially compared to that rock and stone figure. And then these are sharp and pointy. This is my favorite one. All of these different Asian figures and figurines here, they're playing some type of game, maybe checkers or something. And here's another one where they're sitting there and conversing while taking part in some activity. And there's a couple more here. Here's one where one of them is reading, and here he's staring down something. Almost looks like he's, I know this is not what he's doing, but in my mind, he's kind of looks like he's eating an ice cream cone. No, that's not what he's doing though. And here's one of a boat. Two of them could sell for like around $20 to $25 or so. So for the lot, I'll probably ask 50 bucks. All right, well, this is a really cool item I picked up for just $1. It's a triple cross, and you could see the description of it right here on the back if you want to pause it. But you could see here that it also came from the museum company. I remember shopping at the museum company stores in the mall back in the day, because I used to like to pick up these types of historical replicas, which is exactly what this is. Now, the museum company moved entirely online in 1997, and they still sell pieces, so you still may come across the name, and there are people who collect stuff from the museum company. Now, for this particular piece, people generally ask a little bit more than $30, so 31 to 35-ish. And this one, though, unfortunately, it has a crack on the back of it. Now, normally, I don't buy things that have cracks. I made an exception in this case because it was only $1. It is museum company. It's a cool religious piece. And you really can't see the crack well on this. If you got to look really, really close to see it. So I figured if someone didn't want to pay over the $30, I'll start it at $29.99. I'll accept offers, and someone might be willing to take it, and it's still good room for profit. So, every once in a while, make exceptions. So this is a cool colored print I picked up at the beginning right off the wall for just $1. On the bottom, it says Goatee's Unrivaled Colored Fashions. Now, someone has this right now on eBay, exact same one, for $50 plus $5.50 shipping, but they have it in a much bigger frame than it needs. This is actually in a much more appropriately sized frame. Now, it's a really old frame, so I'm going to keep it in this. I'm going to start it at $49.99 with best offer on. And I recognize I might have to lower that price over time because this is not a high demand item. So you want to make sure that for items like this, you are not putting them on auction and expecting there to be a bidding war. A lot of people who are new to eBay make that mistake, and what happens is they lose a lot of money in the process. So with this, someone had a similar print with the same company, not the same exact picture. I don't know exactly what they started it at, but they only got 2 bids and it sold for 10 bucks plus $3.65 shipping or something. And it was in the frame. So take your time when you have a lower demand item that requires that special unique buyer. Be prepared for it to sit around for a while, price it up a little bit and just wait. All right, now this last one is a great example of something I've talked about many times, which is to look at stuff that you typically would not look at because of your gender. So if you're typically looking for guy stuff, start looking for stuff that the ladies like. If you're typically looking at lady stuff, look for stuff that the fellas might like, because that could increase the sales in your store. And so even though it might be outside of your comfort zone and you might not be an expert in it, that's okay. That's how you learn. So I'm sure many people could comment on the many uses of, I don't want to drop all this, but I just did drop one, twill tape and rights. So if you're not familiar with these, and this is all vintage packages, there's all sorts of different colors. Basically, what I'm able to figure out about it is that for people who are not good at sewing or don't have the time to sew, you could basically take out these pieces here and you could just, you know, wrap them around the area that you might need to cover up. But I'm sure there's all sorts of cool crafting uses for them as well, and you know, all sorts of other things. And they have different names, like, you know, bias tape, double bias tape. There's all sorts of names for them. So this box is actually partly from that sale and partly from another estate sale that I haven't even shown you yet. So these keep falling down, but fortunately they're not going to break or anything, because, you know, it's just little packages of tape. In terms of how much I could get, let's say there's about 100 of them. I haven't counted up. There might even be more than that. But let's say if we, you know, start at 100, someone recently asked like $70 plus $10 shipping and took a best offer and sold it. In terms of right now on the market, there's someone trying to sell about 100 plus for like $50 to $60. So that's probably right around where I'll try to get with this, assuming there's around 100 in there. So just goes to show, you know, this is kind of the type of thing that a lot of people will look past and just think is boring, and you can get it for next to nothing. All right, everyone, well, that's a wrap. I hope you enjoyed it. Sorry it took so long for me to get that winter estate sale content out to you. But now that I'm not doing what sold videos anymore, just because there just doesn't seem to be much interest in it, I am now able to get some of that footage, which people seem to like better, onto the channel. And I'll still incorporate some what's sold here and there, like you saw in this video, and also on my Instagram at prime_time_treasure. So follow me over there if you'd like to see some of that stuff. Let me know your favorite item down below, and I'll see you at the next one. Take care.